As you may know, from 1st of July 2018, Hungary plans to introduce real-time invoice reporting of invoices generated in your ERP system, where the VAT charge on the invoice reaches or exceeds 100,000 Hungarian forints. This is approximately 320 euros, so it's not a big amount. So each time the invoice is generated in your system, it must be reported immediately, automatically, and without human intervention. So these are the three fundamental principles of real-time reporting. So which are the invoices that must be reported to the Hungarian tax authority in real time? Each invoice issued by a VAT registered entity, it could be a Hungarian entity or it could be a foreign entity which has VAT registration in Hungary, to another entity which is VAT registered in Hungary. So basically all B2B supplies. Within B2B supplies, only those supplies must be reported which are charged with VAT, so there is no need to report exports, intercommunity supplies of goods, or any supplies which are subject to reverse charge. And there is a threshold associated with this. Any domestic supplies with VAT of that reaches or exceeds 100,000 Hungarian forints. You can always decide to report all invoices irrespective of the threshold. There are also two rules with respect of modification invoices, such as debit notes or credit notes. So first rule is if you issue a debit note or credit note or any modification invoice of the invoice which is itself affected by real-time invoice reporting, you also need to report this modification invoice. For instance, if you issue an original invoice is 400,000 Hungarian forints plus 180,000 of Hungarian VAT, and you issue a credit note that would modify it by minus 50,000, you would need to report not only the original invoice, but also a debit note of this invoice. Rule number 2, if you issue an invoice which is in itself not affected, for example, it doesn't reach the threshold, but you then issue a credit note which as a result of this modification, the VAT on this invoice together with modification would reach or exceed 100,000 Hungarian forints. You would then need to report all modification invoices, but not the original invoice, so only the modification invoices. So now that you know which invoices are reported, you may be interested in how this reporting must be done. And this must be done automatically as soon as the invoice is generated in your system. So imagine the whole process as you generate an invoice, it's being converted into XML file, a file format which is preferred by the tax authority, and then it must be reported also immediately. Not within 24 hours, not within a week or so, which makes Hungarian tax reporting very unique indeed. So what is the key to getting the real-time invoice reporting obligations in time? The key is to address the three questions that you might have. The first one is, what is the content of the reportable invoices and what is the format of these invoices? The second one is how to report them. So not only what to report them, but how to report them. What is the technology you would use to report these invoices? And then the third one, how would you ensure automatic extraction of the right data and converting this into the right data? Let me start with the first question. And what is the content of the reportable invoice? The content, the invoice must be reported in the XML format, which is a format preferred by the tax authority. The tax authority has issued a very detailed guidance of the XML format and actually published an XSD schema that would describe this XML file, which is actually very long. The tax authority has done a very good job describing all possible scenarios which could happen in real life. Now, in your specific case, not all possible scenarios are happening, only those who are specific to your business, and we can help to understand which XML rule is applicable to you or not by providing you samples, XML samples of the invoices that you really issue. So imagine the process in the following way. You have a PDF invoice or hard copy invoice and then we will create an XML sample of this invoice, or we can identify different types of invoices such as advance payment invoice, a periodic payment invoice, and so on, and then create XML samples for each invoice type, so that you can go back to your IT team and let them know that whenever their invoice that looks like this is generated in the ERP system, you would need to auto-create a XML file that looks like this. The second question you need to address is how to report the XML file. So suppose you already have the right content XML, you have already validated this XML file. So now the next question would be how to report this. And for this, we have developed a cloud-based reporting tool called RSM ConnectTAX, which would report invoices from your system directly to the tax authority. But first, let me describe how the whole reporting process needs to be done. So how to report the invoices to the Hungarian tax authority? The legislation describes 6 steps of communication between your ERP system and the tax authority system. And RSM ConnectTAX will take care of these messages. So the first message is when the invoice is generated and then converted into the correct XML format file. Then it's a requirement to ask for the token, which is a reporting request from the tax authority. So message number 1 goes from the ERP to the tax authority, which is called a token request. Second message is going from the tax authority backwards, which is a token itself. It's a key that would help you to generate the third message. The third message is, we call it enveloping. You would need to use the token you receive from the tax authority and to put your invoice XML file into this envelope and send it to the tax authority. It is possible to send up to 100 invoice XMLs in one envelope, in one batch, but you need to remember that each invoice must be done in one XML. So one invoice per XML file, but the reporting could be done in batches. Message number 4 is the tax authority gives you a feedback message saying we have received your invoice XML, but we have not yet processed this. So in message number 5, you keep on asking from the tax authority, have you processed this? Have you processed this? And in message number 6, the tax authority gives you a final feedback message. It could be either a green, a yellow, or red message. A green message is an acceptance message. That means that the Hungarian tax authority has accepted your real-time invoice report and found no mistakes. The opposite of this would be a red message, which is an error message. That means that something went wrong with the XML reporting. For example, the structure or the content of the XML is not correct. For instance, the VAT number of the supplier is not your VAT number. So in this case, you would need to redo the reporting of the XML within 3 days. And then something in between is called a warning or yellow message, which means that something could be wrong with the invoice, but that the report has actually been accepted by the tax authority. So RSM ConnectTAX is our cloud-based solution that takes care of these messages, going back and forth between your ERP system and the tax authority. All you need to take care of is to connect your ERP with RSM ConnectTAX, and everything else will be taken care of, including token request and including dealing and managing feedback messages from the tax authority backwards. And then the third issue that you would need to face is how to ensure automation. Suppose you already have the right content of the XML file and you also already have access to RSM ConnectTAX, our cloud-based reporting solution. The only thing you need to do is to ensure that you have the right FTPS or SFTP connection between your ERP and RSM ConnectTAX, and to ensure that each time the invoice is generated, the right content of this invoice is converted to XML file and then auto uploaded to our server through FTP or SFTP connection. Indeed, the benefit of RSM ConnectTAX is that it is cloud-based, so you don't need to install anything on your own local IT environment, and it will not be interfering with any other application that are running in your system. As a conclusion, a key to successful real-time invoice reporting project lies in addressing these three fundamental questions. First one is, what is the content of the reportable XML file? And this is where RSM can help you to understand the content and the format of the XML file. The second one, what technology do you have in place to report these files in real time? And for this, RSM has developed ConnecTAX, our cloud-based solution, which would report invoices on your behalf automatically, immediately, and without human intervention. And the third one is to ensure automation. So each time an invoice is generated in your system, it is automatically extracted and converted into the right format. And for this, we can also help you to understand the requirements. Thank you.